The tallest sandcastle in the world is 57 feet tall and is located in Binz, Germany. With over 12 sculptors and 8 technicians, it took nearly 4 weeks to complete and takes the phrase sandcastle a little too seriously. Welcome back to Top 5 Central, where today we're looking at the 10 most insane sandcastles ever built. Anytime a world record gets broken, it's probably because something really impressive has been done or created, and the world record for the world's tallest sandcastle is no different. The castle was created by a group called Sculptura Projects in Germany on the 5th of June 2019, and as you would expect from the world's tallest sandcastle in the world, it's pretty huge. The design stretches up to 57 feet and 11 inches tall. It took a dedicated team of 12 sculptors and 8 technicians a total of 3.5 weeks of constant work to complete the castle. As per the rules, the structure is created entirely out of sand, which has only been mixed with natural water and contains no other support inside or outside the design. While the point of this sandcastle was to create the tallest sandcastle in the world, the designers still put their all into making it look phenomenal. The castle itself sits on a base of intricately designed sea creatures that's 85 meters and 3 inches wide, which is a set of stairs carved into the side to make it look like an entryway to the main castle above. The bulk of the design is made up of the bottom tier of walls, but as it gets higher, the design becomes even more complicated, featuring spires and a giant pointed roof right at the top. At 57 feet tall, it's clear to see that the mass of sand is bigger than many of the trees in the surrounding area, and you could just about make out some people walking around it to give you a true sense of the colossal creation scale. So before the group of Germans from our last entry on this list came along to steal the Guinness World Record for the world's tallest sandcastle, it was held by a pretty unexpected group of people. In fact, it was a record held by the Cat Company, who you might know makes heavy-duty construction equipment. That might sound crazy, but when you think about the heavy-duty diggers and lifters that Cat produces, it starts to make a bit more sense. The design itself is much more modern than your typical sandcastle. The ornate spires of medieval castles have been replaced by tall skyscrapers that tower over everything else nearby. You could argue that the aesthetic of modern-day skyscrapers is much simpler than any other design, but when you realize how thin the design is, you start to realize how much engineering work actually had to go into the design a structure that could reach so high into the air. The UK doesn't have the best beaches in the world. A lot of them are covered in stone and gravel, but some are perfect for creating sandcastles. One of those beaches is Weston-super-Mare, and it's home to a yearly sand sculpture festival where some of the coolest sandcastles in the world are built. The festival has been running ever since 2006, with each year following a special theme. In 2019, the theme was What If, where the sand sculptors had to design their sandcastles around a question. Some of the examples being, what if the dinosaurs returned? Or what if you were the only person on Earth? While all of the sculptures at the festival are cool in one way or another, the one we liked the most this year is the sculpture of a chef. He seems to be deep in thought, wondering what to do with the chicken in the sand and the potatoes off to the side. I guess the question that the sculptors were asking when they built the sandcastle was, what if we had chicken for dinner? Or something like that. The amount of detail that went into creating each element of the sandcastle is pretty insane, from the ruffles of the chicken's feathers to the look of deep thought on the chef's face. Ed Jarrett is a bit of a legend in the sandcastle world. The first time he broke the world record for the world's tallest sandcastle was in 2003, where he built a castle that was 29 feet and 3 inches tall in Maine. He followed that up a few years later with another castle, once again built in Maine, that was 31 feet and 7 inches tall. All of that led to his final build in 2011, where he built a sandcastle that eclipsed the others at 38 feet and 0.75 inches tall in Farmington. The castle is a giant structure with immense detail, from lions and fire-breathing dragons guarding the walls at the bottom to intricate castle spires at the top. The sandcastle really focuses on the medieval aesthetic and looks really impressive as it towers above some of the nearby trees. The build took the work of 15 artists and around 1,500 volunteers to complete over 2,500 hours. It wasn't easy. The weather tried to stop them at every turn. They had to deal with snow and even a thunderstorm the night before the final measurement of the castle. The battle over the world's tallest sandcastle is one that never ends, and for a brief period in 2017, the Guinness Book of World Records award went to a castle that had been built in India at Puri Beach. The design stretches 48 feet into the sky and is covered in sand doves, turrets, and even a gigantic portrait of, you guessed it, Gandhi. The sandcastle was constructed by a group from the Sudarshan Sand Art Institute over the course of 4 days. The design of the sandcastle honestly seems like it could have gone even taller. Like, instead of continuing to go upward in tiers as they have been doing pretty much like the whole design, it's topped off by a slightly smaller detailed castle. Either way, when people stand close to the design, it looks more like a sand mountain than a sandcastle, so it is absolutely enormous. If you head to Virginia Key Park, then you're going to come across another of the world's tallest sandcastles. The castle is based around some of the world's most important and symbolic buildings, including the Taj Mahal from India, the Leaning Tower of Pisa from Italy, and the Eiffel Tower from Paris. The strange thing about this build is that there are no signs around the construction to show off who built the thing, so unless you were to research it further, you would never know that the only reason this immense sandcastle exists is because of Turkish Airlines? Yeah, the airline sponsored the award-winning sandcastle creator Ted Siebert to build the sandcastle, to act as a publicity stunt for a new Miami to Istanbul flight. The end structure stood at 45 feet and 10 inches tall and was crafted from over 1,800 tons of sand by a team of 19 artists. Almost every country and major building in the world is represented in the piece, carved out of the sand in deep detail. In 2007, the world's tallest sandcastle could be found at Myrtle Beach in South Carolina and had been put together a week before the annual Sun Fun Festival. This sandcastle design is one that takes a more traditional route. It's literally one giant castle. There are multiple pointed spires across the design, with one large central spire in the middle to make up the height. At the bottom of the castle, there are big gates, and there's even a sand dragon carved into the side of the design. After being completed, the base of this immense sandcastle was 60 feet wide, and the peak reached up to 35 feet into the air. It took the sandcastle sculptors 130 dump truck loads of sand and just over a week of construction to complete the design. Even crazier, over the course of construction, the sandcastle was damaged by vandals, as well as wind and rain from Tropical Storm Barry, but it was still able to break the whole world record. The castle was built on the site of a building that had just been knocked down, and actually had to be taken down itself shortly after so the new building work could begin at the site. The city of South Padre Island loves sandcastles so much they have an annual event dedicated to incredible sandcastle creations. They call it the Sandcastle Days. It was started 32 years ago to demonstrate not just the sand sculpting abilities of those who live in the area, but to highlight the importance of protecting the coastal shores of the states. The event is free to attend and has grown from a local celebration of sand sculpting to a qualifying event of the Sand Sculpting World Championships. Because of that, the sand sculptures in this area are some of the biggest and best in the world, and have a quality that is almost unrivaled by anywhere else. One of the best sand sculptures in the area is a permanent sculpture that was created by an Australian named Andy Hancock. He started life as a woodcarver, but switched over to sand when he realized how interesting it was to work with as a material. His South Padre sand sculpture is an incredibly detailed castle, and each part of the castle has its own story that Andy developed. For example, the dragon is built into the stone wall, and according to Andy, it's because the dragon attacked the castle and the wizard turned it to stone. To make the sandcastle permanent, Andy has coated the structure in a thin layer of glue, which helps it stay standing strong through all weather conditions. But Andy is still working on his giant structure even to this day, adding more and more to make South Padre's biggest ever sandcastle even bigger and better. The South Carolina State Fair is a yearly 12-day-long event held in Columbia, which raises money and donates millions of dollars in scholarships for students in South Carolina. Every year they award 50 scholarships to high school students in the states, and part of that money is raised by the sand sculpture exhibit they have there every single year. Over the course of the fair, the sandcastle sculptors from the event, who have over 10 World Sand Sculpting Championships under their belt, create incredible sand sculptures for people to look at. During the 2013 South Carolina State Fair, this sand sculpture has a giant castle, which was being attacked by an even bigger dragon. The sculpture had a level of detail that was far beyond what most sand sculptures have, even outlining the ripples and contours of the giant dragon's muscles and skin. The giant dragon had its neck and hand wrapped around one side of the castle, with its tail wrapped around the other side. Even the castle itself was detailed, with archways and spires far above the dragon's head. But the most impressive thing by far was the detail around the dragon's eye. I'm not sure if it was made of glass or if it was just made of sand, but it looks incredibly realistic. In 2018, Mickey Mouse was celebrating its 90th anniversary on the beach of Ostend. Disney had commissioned artists from around the world to create a fantasy world of magic, inspired by Disneyland Paris, as well as the heroes of Marvel, Disney Pixar, and Star Wars, just out of sand and water. It sounds like a challenge, but the 40 professional artists that have been pulled in from all around the globe were more than up for the task. Using 240 trucks of special sculpting sand across a month of preparation and building, an immense world of sand sculptures were built. The 150 sculptures, ranging from 2 to 6 meters tall, featured all of Disney's most iconic characters. It was called Disney Sand Magic 2018, and it blew people away. There were the obvious Disney classics like Dumbo, Cinderella, and of course the iconic Mickey Mouse himself, but there were also creations from more modern franchises like Doctor Strange from Marvel's Avengers, or Judy Hopps from the hit film Zootopia, and even Master Yoda from the Star Wars franchise. There were so many sand sculptures spread out over the 10,000 meter squared event space that it said that visitors would take over an hour to walk through the area to see all the sculptures that were on offer. But hey, check out this video on water slides people built in their backyards. It's insane. I'll see you guys there.